a sacrifice seduced for the altar of your vanity. A jealous, hungry God, craving praises of profanity. With bedroom dark and dine, and a deep mouth stained with wine, it drinks its fill. It was your mothers, not your brothers, that agreed to feed you poison. This egregious lack of choice indeed seemed fit to join your voice in, with lies disguised as prizes of reason and wisdom, with briberies of finery to weaken any criticism. Can the fly invade the blossom that devours it? A mouth that lies in wait for a gift of life to shower it.
All right, we are welcome back, everybody. We're at session 105. Before we really get going, I'd like to take a moment and allow our new player to introduce herself. If she'd like to say anything before we get going. I'll take that as a no. Hopefully she's listening.
Hang on.
Ah, there she goes. There it is.
I was trying to figure out why my microphone wasn't working, and it was because I had the little slider muting myself up all the way. So apologies for that. My name is Kate, and I'm the new player. New to Dark Ages. Not too new to Vampire as a whole, but still consider myself a novice in many areas. Really excited to be here, and I've met the storyteller last week. We were kind of working on our character, so I know him a little bit. I know a couple of other players that I've met also by talking in Discord, so I don't feel completely noobish, but still don't know all of you, so I'm looking forward to that moment. And thank you for allowing me to take part in your game.
Well, I'm just glad you were available and you really sound like you're eager and ready to go. So, without further ado, let's get started. It is late April, 90 BC. In fact, the very last week of April. Androdimus, a lot has been happening since you haven't been on the last couple of sessions. Go ahead.
In short, I've joined the revolution.
Yep. So, while you were out and about, the rest of the players ran across they made the wrong turn in the Forum Vanalia and ran straight into a werewolf patrol. Astartes' Cainite sister essentially sacrificed herself to allow everyone else to get away. And he's not handling it very well at all. Without getting too much into it, because I don't want to ruin the experience, his moral compass is gone, and he's swinging wildly right now. Additionally, there was a law passed by the current consul, a guy named, appropriately enough, Julius Caesar, but not the Julius Caesar. This is, in fact, his uncle. He essentially had a law passed that stated that all people who were citizens of city-states that did not rebel against Rome are now citizens of Rome at large. Which is crazy, because that's exactly what everyone else is rebelling about, because they wouldn't allow everyone else to be Roman citizens. So, go figure. In part to help celebrate this, as Princeps Camillus, the first citizen, has now stated that, well, every Cainite who has come from those areas is now a citizen of Rome as well, and is welcome to participate in the Eternal Senate, to stand for election, and to cast votes if they are elected. So he has declared, in accordance with the human custom of the Florialia, that there will be 5 days of games and parties run in conjunction with the human festival. Night 1 was simply random bouts. Night 2 was a bout of ghouls, ghoul-on-ghoul violence, the winner of whom would earn for their master the right to embrace a subject of their choosing. Albina rented a warrior from Ihamus, and he did really well, but did not win in the end. We are on night 3. But before we get there, Androdimus, I need you to make a pair of perception plus alertness rolls. You are attempting to detect if you realize you've been followed.
Mm-hmm. Let me just bring up the sheet because it's been a while. Is spending willpower permitted?
You cannot will yourself into doing this.
Fair enough. Difficulty?
It's standard difficulty 6. You need to get at least 3 successes on both rolls.
Damn.
No, you have wound penalties applied for some reason.
Oh. That's weird.
Yes, it is. So remove that and re-roll.
Oh, I think in that a while back, it was wounds I received in that combat a good while back when I frenzied. Remember?
No, actually, I don't.
Well, still a failure.
I don't know why it still says wound -2.
Wait, what the fuck? Okay, let me try. It's still fuck.
Let's
Maybe
go
it's
to your
been-
character sheet.
Maybe it's been too long since I used this thing.
Androdimus.
Yeah, I fixed it now.
Okay.
Third time's a charm. And still failed.
Hey.
But at least I did it right
it's-
this time.
Yes. Okay. You have been attending meetings, making the political rounds, meeting your fellow neonates of the night, the dissatisfied, the immigrants. And I would like you to make one more perception plus awareness roll. Difficulty's 10 minus your Auspex score.
Oh, for difficulty 10.
Oh, that's okay. If it was easy to detect, they wouldn't be letting this happen to them. Alright, one thing you do notice is that they appear to have a couple of inspirational figurines with them, and when people hold them, they become better speakers, more passionate. But that is all you notice. Alright. It is night 3. There is a party going on at the Elysian Fields Bathhouse, the private facility owned by Princeps Titus Ventris Camillus. He has announced that he's going to allow everyone willing to abide by his rules to enjoy the festivities. Your new friends have made it known to you that the next couple of nights, so the next nights 4 and 5, which are going to be 10 talent shows, individual performances, and a number of plays about from his history. That they're going to make a play for attention and plead their case some point during those 2 nights. Is there anything you would like to do about that?
So, have they explicitly asked me to speak on this occasion?
They have not. You have been very busy being the voice of diplomacy and reason, helping to spread the word, calm hurt feelings, things like that. You've actually been quite instrumental in keeping it from getting violent before this over the last few weeks. They don't mean it to be violent. They are going to take the opportunity to make a performance of their own that is hopefully will make their case clear and inspire the princeps to reach out and talk business with them. But if you have any suggestions, if you want to take this to your patron, anything like that.
How do I suspect my patron would react to hearing about this? Assuming he doesn't know already because reasons.
Well, you are pretty sure that he will try to find a way to profit from it.
Would he necessarily try to sabotage it, though?
If he thinks he can profit more by sabotaging it than by letting it go through.
So
or stopping it altogether.
If I can convince him somehow that he has more to profit from letting it go okay, at least, then he could actually end up... Alright, I'll bring it up to them first, just to, so that I'm not making a risky play without their permission. I'm basically going to suggest, hey, if I can convince my patron that letting this go through would be in his best interest, he might actually be willing to help ensure it goes through. Are you okay with letting me try, or would you prefer that I just keep it under wraps?
Well, you're talking with a guy named Trocus at the moment. Trocus says, there's another... we have another potential patron as well. A guy named Marcus Cradium Tritus. I wonder if the 2 of them together can ensure that we get a chance to speak in the appropriate manner, and then that way we aren't stepping on toes and forcing other people out of slots that they may have had to pay for to perform. Do you think your patron would be open to helping us out like that?
What do I know about this other guy they mentioned?
Marcus, intelligence plus politics roll, please.
Is spending a willpower on this one an option?
Yes, this one is an option. You rack your brains trying to remember what you know about this guy.
Alright, spending and...
Alright, with 3 successes, politically he's quite weak. He has a chilled. He's very young. He is about the same age, maybe a little tiny bit older than from your other coterie members. And he's somewhat more invested in the entertainment. In this manner, he's somewhat similar to Alexander in that he is invested in plays, actors, actresses. In fact, his realm of interest overlaps with your own patron a little bit in terms of the chariot races and things like that.
In terms of become competitive, or...
he is not truly a competitor with your sire, although one day he could, or your patron, I mean, but one day he could be. So it might be worth becoming allies early.
Indeed. I think I can make this work. Yeah. Oh, but first I need to get my tea out of the oven. Be right back.
Okay? Right? Um, so, yeah, let's just hold on for a second while he goes to get that. For our new player, a quick word. Androdimus is a temporary character that with our player is playing while his main character is in torpor. And he has a different patron from the rest of the group. They met outside of Rome in the city of Capua, and he has returned to Rome due to the civil war that is ongoing at the moment.
Okay.
I don't know if you other guys have any details you'd like to fill in there that might make the picture a little clearer. All right, I'll take that as a no. All right. I don't want to get into Albinus stuff just yet, because we're going to be on that for a little bit. You know what? While we're waiting, let's go ahead and do it. All right, Albina, you have been asked. Well, in fact, not asked. You've been told. At the start of the third night, you are to report to the Field of Mars, which is in the north end of Rome, out past the walls. The fields are a vast open space, nearly 2 miles long, which is a little over 3 kilometers, and about a mile wide, which is a mile is 1.6 kilometers. Of course, being a huge party, nobody's really out causing trouble. As you cross the river, you leave the city proper, you enter the slums, you leave the worst of the slums. You notice that the tents are all kind of clustered in towards the city. Nobody really wants to encroach on the field. There's old religion and fear. Fear of what might be out in the fields at night that keep people there. And in the middle of the Field of Mars, there is a large marsh. The closer you get to the marshes, the more you realize you're not alone in the dark. Even with your dark sight, your vision, the people making their way through the fields are stealthy enough for you not to catch a clear view. So, how would you approach this? How do you approach the marsh?
Has she been told what to be the kind of etiquette that we expected?
You were not. You were expected to be able to figure this out on your own.
I think she's going to be approaching it calmly, not trying to hide herself. She understands that everyone that's going to be attending this meeting is going to be on the path of the beast. So she's going to be trying to approach as if she was not afraid. She's going to try to put on the image that she's confident as she walks to the march.
Right. Right on the edges, you can smell the water. You can smell the muck and the mud. It's got a distinct odor to it, distinct from the mass of unwashed human bodies and contaminants in the city itself. A figure rises up out of the mud and the grass, was blended in very well, and it's covered in the filth of the wilds. And it looks at you and it says, "What are you doing out here, you damn shadow demon? Go back to the canyons of man where you belong."
I am exactly where I belong. I've been invited.
He smiles and he attacks you. I'd like you to roll your initiative. Initiative is your dexterity score plus your wit score, and you roll a d10 and add it. So, or on the character sheet, there is a spot where you can just hit initiative and it'll roll it for you. Wow, he rolled like shit. All right, Albina, he launches an attack. You see it coming. What do you do?
She's going to motion to attack him first. Trying to. As he comes at her, she's going to be trying to punch at him.
Okay, roll your Dex plus Brawl. He is not attempting to get out of the way. He is just coming for you. All right. You swing at him, and he doesn't even feel it. He's coming at you so fast, your fist just kind of grazes off his face. And he slams into you with a tackle. He is attempting to grapple you. He's going to roll his Strength plus Brawl, and you catch a glimpse of his eyes as he comes in, and he is riding the edge. He's not quite in frenzy, but he's riding that bestial edge that you kind of remember from the first encounter with the Road of the Beast, where he told you to go run. That's the high this man is riding right now. All right. He is too slippery. He's too covered in mud. He tries to grab you, and his hands just kind of slip off of you. And he sullies your nice clothing. You are now have a big splatter of mud across your midsection where he bounced off of you.
Literally worse than death. She's going to, noticing the Hawkeye seems to be at the cusp of frenzy, she's going to be trying to work out the same primal instinctual anger that she had on the night that she was told to kill the travelers. That she was made to starve herself and kill the travelers by technically.
Right. So, you're going to roll your self-control. The difficulty is going to be 6. You've been unjustly attacked. You actually want to fail this roll. Alright, you feel the beast rise up in you, but your instinctive habit of suppressing it, of saying, no, I can't let you out, just rises up and you're like, nope. You still don't quite have that, the instinct, literal instinct of letting the beast come out when you need it. So you go ahead. You still got the next attack. He tried to grab you, and you just kind of backstep and slipped away from him real quick. And he's coming again. He's attempting another grapple on you.
She's going to try to grapple him back.
All right, this is going to be straight up contested strength brawl versus strength brawl. And he is spending a blood for potence. So he's getting... I didn't roll his potence last time, but he's getting 3 successes automatic. Alright. The two of you engage in a tie-up, like a wrestler's tie-up, and he shucks you off and grips you in a bear hug. No damage this time, though. His next step, though, if you can't break his grip, is going to be, he's going to flip you over and he's going to suplex you onto your head.
She's going to be trying to use turn the grapple on him, try to break his hold on her.
Okay.
this time she's also going to be spending for the 3 auto potents.
All right, so this is again a contested roll. This is your action as you're trying to break his grip, and
Six
your
successes.
so your potence matches up. So he spent blood for his potence as well, and you got it. He only got 5. You brace yourself, smash, whack. However, he still has an action, and he's going to re-grapple you. Doesn't get the benefit of his potence this time, but he got plenty of successes. So you break it, and you settle, and he just comes right back at you again and slams into you again. All right, new round. Break his grip again.
Yeah, turns again trying to work out the beast within her.
All right. Once more, embrace your beast. In fact, he needs to make an instinct roll not to let his beast get out of control. He's still trying to ride it and guide it. So, he's still young and doesn't have full control over his instinct. He does succeed. All right. Once more, straight up. He's attempting to suplex you. You're attempting to break. So, roll your strength versus strength here. All right. 1 and 1. You don't succeed in breaking it. It's tight. It's hard. It's tough. He's holding on. You thought you got out. Nope. He just barely holds on. And he's rolling his. He's gonna try to suplex you. Which he does. He picks you up over his shoulder, slams you on the ground, and then he puts his teeth to your throat. He does not bite. This is the point where you either give up or he bites. Do you give up?
No.
Okay. He gave you a moment to submit, to acknowledge that he was superior beast, and you do not. So, for the formality's sake, we'll go ahead and roll damage. So that's, he's got a strength of 4, so 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to say 10 because he smashed you into, or 9 because he smashed into soft ground. Alright, need you to soak 1, 2, 3, 4. Soak 4 bashing damage. Okay. It doesn't even really hurt, although you are now covered from head to toe in muck. Alright, you are still grappled. His action is to bite at difficulty 5.
She's going to be trying to free herself of the grapple.
Alright, your action is going to be strength plus brawl at diff 7. His is to bite you at diff 5. Straight contested, whoever gets more successes wins.
Going to be using the blood point for potence.
Alright.
5 successes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 successes, and I didn't even roll his potence. So, his teeth sink into you. And he sinks into your shoulder. I need to make an instinct roll to see if he refrains. This is a difficulty 7. A hot taste of potent vampiric vitae floods his mouth. Okay. It is clear that he could severely hurt, if not kill you here. If you don't give up, he will.
She stops struggling. Lets herself be submit to him.
You can feel the trauma. He wants to hurt you bad. But as it befits someone on the road of the beast, he must also yet know when to hold back. And you can feel trembling. He lets go, stands up, nods at you, and now you see that you've kind of attracted a crowd. And you're not, as you stand up, you realize you're not the only ones fighting. You can hear the sounds of struggle other struggles in the darkness. And there were witnesses who saw, you lost this one. But that's okay. It's kind of hard to beat a Bruja in a grapple fight. So he lopes off, kind of cocky and secure in his victory. You did not take any damage. He bit to exert dominance. He didn't bite to hurt you.
Did he take blood for her?
No, he did not. He definitely wanted to, but he was like, can't, nope. As much as the beast wants to, I can't. This is not the time or the place. And that is also a test for him as a follower of the road, to know when to stop. This isn't the only fight you get into tonight. You continue through the marsh. The next person who accosts you is much more easily defeated. You've won a couple, you lose a couple.
Does she recognize any of the people that she fights along the way?
You notice a lot of them are new. You probably really haven't seen very many of them before. The ones that you know for sure, like you do see some people you know. So you see a couple of gangrel that you know. You see at least one more Nosferatu that you know. You don't see Papa Roach out here. He's not on the road to the beast. So you have seen some vampires that you know, and they're not fighting. Their place in the pecking order has been well established. Roll your intelligence plus politics. Zero successes. It's going to take you some time to think about this. Why are only the young ones fighting?
Because the young ones are the ones that need to earn their place.
There
And
you
that's
go.
to say, it's also a test for them. The others have already been tested. They already know to refrain.
That's right. That's exactly right. They know already who is their superior and who is their inferior. And of course, the new ones know, don't test those who have already tested themselves. You won't win. You do eventually make your way deep into the marsh, into the trackless paths. Your steps squelching and squishing, the hum of night insects and the gnats and the mosquitoes. You come to a ring of stumps. You see Telecles among them, standing with a bunch of other gangrel, a couple of Nosferatu, looks like. And he looks over and he sees you in the dark. Those big alien-looking eyes. And he gestures to you to come to see him.
She walks over to him.
He takes a minute to regard you, to look. And he says, what have you learned tonight?
I learned that I am neither the strongest among these people, nor am I the weakest. I learned that. I learned that just as there is a time, there is a moment to let it out, there is a moment to rein it in.
I was watching a couple of your fights. Why did you not call upon the powers of darkness at your disposal?
Because it did not felt to be the way that should be. Two beasts fighting one another should be a matter of a physical matter, not calling upon the aid of the shadows, the aid of the abyss.
And why would a predator not call upon all of their abilities to win? To survive?
You are right. A predator would call upon all their abilities to survive, but it not those air fights to the death. Or at least they did not felt like it.
But it could have been. How did you know they were going to stop?
Because because if they did not stop, they would have failed. They would not be here if they are failures.
You've had failures already. You're here.
Yes, but I learned from my failures.
What makes you think that this wouldn't be their first failure, or their second, or their 10th?
This event, this gathering, this hunt, it's not the kind of place that failures are invited to, from what I understand. Yes?
You understand nothing. I'll tell you what you understand. I'll tell you what I understand. I understand you don't take this seriously. That's why you didn't call upon them. Maybe I should call a couple of them back up to fight you again. And see how seriously you take it when I tell them there are no rules.
Alpna is going to proceed to let herself be cladded in shadows as she uses armor with the abyss.
He just laughs.
Shall I run the gauntlet again?
That first fight, did he have to challenge you, or could he have jumped you from hiding?
He could have jumped me from hiding.
Would you have had time to do that?
No.
And then in a fight, a true fight to the death, kill or be killed, survive or die, with no time to prepare, what would your beast do? What would you do deep in your heart of hearts? What's the first thing you would do?
What's my opponent?
Doesn't matter. What's the first thing you'll do? Somebody's on you right now. Fangs coming for your throat.
I try to assess the opponent. Try to know if it is stronger than me.
Make a perception plus alertness roll to notice somebody sneaking up behind you. Even as they're talking, even with your shadows, you feel an arm snake around you, pull you back, and teeth touch your throat.
She's going to melt herself into shadow form.
The instant he feels your body begin to change, he tears into you. This is armor plus fortitude only. Let's see, I got to roll to determine bite damage. Let's see, he's got you grappled. He's not going to auto use his potence. This is an Nosferatu. 4, 6, 10. He is pulling this so it's not fatal. I'm going to say that up front before I roll. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 plus 5. And I didn't roll potence on that, doesn't matter. 13. anyways, yeah, you take 4 ag damage. As he literally rips a chunk out of your neck and shoulder. You instantly, at the end of your turn, he takes a huge chunk mouthful of your flesh. And then the rest of it just melts away into shadow. And he's no longer holding on to you. Just, his hands now grip nothing but ephemeral darkness. As you flow away, disappear amongst the dark shadows of the night, the reeds and the swamp, lichen and everything that's growing there. Telecles just nods a little bit and says, "You need to do better, faster. If you had a true grasp of the beast, that never would have been caught." And he just waves his hand. He says, "That's enough. Come back. This will be your final night of tutoring."
She leads over back to the position of Caterpillar and reform herself.
Yeah, he looks disappointed. Not that that means much to you. He just shakes his head. He says, "This is to be your final night amongst us. Until you have decided truly that you wish to be here. Pay attention." And he gestures towards the stumps. He says, "Watch and learn. You have fought. Tonight you will hear the first of the lessons, that of the man and the beast, the best of the predator combined with the control and intellect of man." And on a central stump, a large stump, easily 5 feet in diameter, damn near 2 meters, huge, humongous stump. This creature steps upon it. It's probably a gangrel. He's somehow regal and majestic. He has his face is scaled and feathered, and he is adorned in garments obviously made out in the wilds of the field. A simple vest, loincloth, shin coverings, sandals, and he has a collar made of feathers draped across his neck. He steps up and begins to recite a tale. A tale of Enoia, who first left civilization for 40 years and returned with the lessons of the beast. And it's a long tale. Probably goes about an hour. Lots of embellishments and talking about the struggles and learning how to release the beast when needed, to rein it in, to be more than is possible to be as both man or an animal. But that you have to live in the wild. You have to embrace the animal within you to utilize it effectively, to remind yourself that it's there, to master it. When he finishes, another steps up and says, "Bring forth the violator." And you see another vampire is brought up, draped in chain and stone, barely able to move under the load of this huge rocks he's being made to carry. And this other vampire steps up and says, "This one has done more than leave us. He has left the road. He has betrayed us. He has profaned the road of the beast. Yet it's not our way to simply execute. And the whole crowd is beginning to get restless after this long tale. They start hooting and hollering. Fangs are prominent, clearly eager to get to a hunt. How does Albina feel about this?
She's curious about this supposed traitor to the road. Out of all the roads, should I have expected the road of the beast to have the more loose adherents, to have the to be the least likely one to hunt heretics to it. So she's curious about what this one did that it is apparently so great that even the adherents of the road of the beast would seek to punish him for it. It's a very mm, cold approach that she has on it, on wishing to learn what could have pushed the road of the beast adherents to such measures.
Um, Fortunately, he doesn't explain, he just states. This one is to be brought to the edge of the marsh. You will be given a short head start. If it reaches a civilization it prizes so highly, you shall be free. If not, the ways of nature and the beast will determine its fate. And the crowd is beginning to cheer, yeah, yeah, woo! And there's like stomping and the mud here splashing and that of like people, stomping mud. The vampire looks deeply frightened, but resigned to its fate. Everybody starts like streaming towards the edge of the marsh as a couple of vampires grab the one in chains and begin dragging it to the point of the start of the chase.
She's going to
Go
approach
ahead.
Tentacles and ask him, what did he do?
It is given to everyone the freedom to choose your own path. This one did more. It profaned the path and then betrayed those of its road. The ones who died deserved to die for being weak. But this one also deserves to die for its actions, for setting up his fellow followers to such a fate.
His crime is not killing the other followers. His crime is doing so in a way that disgraces the rest of the path followers.
If you want to think of it like that. But we do not execute. We are better than animals. Animals have no concept of crime. This is where the supremacy of man comes in. He must be allowed the chance to save himself. They take the vampire to the edge of the marsh. You can see him kind of pumping himself up, pumping what few reserves of blood he probably has in his body into strength and speed. And as soon as they drop the last chain, that vampire's off, and you hear the guy go, "Hold! You must wait, hold!" After about 15 seconds, he says, "Go!" And everybody starts sprinting off after this guy. So what does Albina do?
She's going to join on the hunt. And so she's going to proceed to take note of what he said to make use of every ability that she has. She's going to proceed to go into shadow form to more easily slip through the forests.
That's actually going to slow you down.
Oh, it is?
You can only go at a slow walking pace in that form.
Then she's going to actually be trying to run after him.
All right. So you attempt to enter a kind of fugue state where you just like you did that first night of just running and going and hunting.
Yes.
Once
to
again, you can spend a
instinctively
willpower to do this as you force yourself to just let go. Just let go.
Yes.
All right, so if you go ahead and spend a willpower, you do not have to roll self control. You just let go and you let the beast come up within you. And that once you get that, you get that enjoyable sensation of almost like being on horseback at a horse going at full gallop. That feeling of having that powerful animal at your control, just the lightest touch of the reins directing it. For us modern day sensibilities, it'd be like, you know, you're on a racetrack, you're in a sports car, and you're just going, and you know that nothing you do can go wrong. No cop's gonna stop you. You can go as fast as you want to go. This thing is never gonna crash. It's the best car that you've ever touched. It's just the thrill of the power, the speed, and you're off like a shot, and you're keeping up with a great deal of them. Everybody is sprinting after this guy. He's headed in a beeline straight for the tents, trying to get there before everyone else can catch him. Just give me a quick perception plus alertness roll. Yeah, perception plus alertness, difficulty 6. Unless you're using Auspex, which if you have Auspex, you will be using it.
Nope, no aspect.
All right. All right. Yeah. So you got a success. You got the wound in your shoulder in this fugue state has ceased to bother you. You're right on the edge of frenzy, but not quite there. You're like catching that sweet, sweet, sweet crest of the wave on surfing, just right there, where everything's clear. You see better than you've ever saw. There's no pain. You're on that runner's high, halfway through the marathon, back on solid ground. Your fellow hunters are beside you, and that pack feeling. You see the first hunter catches up with him, and the vampire turns around and just smashes the guy in the face, and he goes careening off against a tree, and the prey takes off running again. There's easily a dozen vampires between you and it. It happens a second and a third time. Another one finally catches it, trips it up, and it goes stumbling into a thicket. And then a couple more vampires jump on top of it, and you catch it right there at the end. You have the opportunity to get an attack in before the vampires ripped apart.
She's going to try to do so.
All right.
Um,
Roll Dex and Brawl. Ignore your wound penalty for this. You're going to have +4 Dex. You'd have spent 4 blood into Dex for speed. Right? Yeah, there's a punching, kicking, vampires get up there, they're biting, tearing, ripping this unfortunate target apart piece by piece, and you even get in there yourself. You don't get the killing blow. You don't get the final blow, but you get a handful yourself. You get a whole freaking stomp in before somebody else shoves you out of the way to get their blow in, as this guy is beaten and torn and ripped to death. And you're left with the exhilarating feeling that as you start to come down from that high, you're cresting in, coming in off the track, going to the pits, and that adrenaline's starting to wear off, and you're starting to come back from the beast, come back to being Albina. It's an intoxicating feeling. You can get used to doing that. How does that make you feel? What's Albina's thoughts as she wanders back to the haven?
she thinks back about the talk that she had with Ihamus back in the bathhouse about the true reason why her elder set her on this task to learn about the path of the beast. She wonders perhaps this is a way to test her commitment to the abyss, a way to test if she's going to let herself be swayed by basic pleasures and desires by fulfilling the beast away from the uh, calm meditative state that's required to commune to the abyss. She wonders perhaps this is some kind of a test of her, not of her physical abilities, nor of her theological knowledge of the abyss, but rather of her will to endure to take the path of the abyss, and there is something else that is so more fulfilling for her beast.
Gain a point of experience towards your conviction. And apparently the music player stopped. When did that happen? All right. Okay, coming back to Androdimus, leaving Albina as she walks, hurt, torn up a little bit, dirty, filthy, with a ton of on her mind, back to her haven. We come back to Androdimus, who is more highly engaged in the political game than he has really ever been in the past. Androdimus, what was your plan? What are you going to do?
I'm going to go to my patron, tell him that I've mentioned to him that I've had some contact with the younglings. I'm going to mention that they invited me to like a meeting tonight, and explain the what you call it the play that they're planning to do. Mention how one of his um how I think it was it Martin T something.
It was scrolling. Marcus Cratium Tritus.
Okay, Marcus. I'm going to mention that the Marcus Pratium Tritus is also sponsoring it, and the basically I'm going to bring up the proposition that if he could, if he ensured that they were able to do their thing without, hopefully without pissing too many people off, not only would they owe him one, would a bunch of them owe him one, it would give him an inroad into figure into gauging this Marcus fellow. And as with before, I'm not actively hiding the fact that I'm aligned with them, but I'm not like explicitly making it obvious, if that makes sense. I'm basically, if he asked me flat out, I would instantly say yes. I'm working with them, but yeah, words.
All right. I need you to roll your wits plus awareness at difficulty 6, but I need you to make 3 successes. And you can spend a willpower on this.
I'm going to need to, because otherwise I physically cannot get that many successes.
Oh, okay. Well, that's all right. For our new player, I have a house rule. Normally, if you have no ability, skill, or knowledge, you can't roll.
Okay.
But my house rule is you typically can. It's just one difficulty higher on all 3 things. It's there are cases where I'll say if you don't have the knowledge, you can't roll. But sometimes you might have heard something in passing. Who knows? So that's kind of a case by case thing. But for the most part, I will let you roll at one difficulty higher. The trade-off to that is I will also let ones take away if you spend a willpower point. A one can take that away. It just ensures you can never botch a roll because a botch is when you roll a one and no successes. So there is a little trade-off to that. That's a house rule.
I'll try to remember that.
All right. Yeah, you as you sit there talking to him, you've got kind of a vague memory that you've done this several times before. But he's been your patron for several years, so you could just be getting a little confused here. All right. Yeah, he doesn't appear to make much of your news. He just kind of nods and takes it under advisement, like he always does. And he says, I wonder what exactly they're going to do, when they're going to do it. Because, well, maybe you can answer this. Where do they meet, usually? Do you know? Can you tell me?
Out of character, is it always in one spot?
They have a couple of different spots, but they rotate through them. But it's not random. They have a two or three different spots that are like run by friendlies for them.
Mm. They have a few places that they meet. Generally, as I understand, held by others who are sympathetic to them, if not fully supportive.
Okay, well, that's good to know. If you can leave those locations on your way out with my major domo, I would appreciate it. You might. No, never mind. Continue as you've been doing. You're doing well.
And Judgmus pauses, but nods, and says, "Very well," and leaves. And as he as he leaves his patron, he he leaves all but one of the locations that he knows they meet at. He gives all of them but one. Um, and then goes out, and it's going to be considering some of that for a bit because I'm not sure if this is just if basically I am suddenly suspicious.
As well, you should be. Roll perception plus alertness.
Can I spend willpower on this one
Yes, you
since I
can, because your suspicions have been aroused. Aroused? I'm not sure what the right word for that is.
motherfucker?
Dicebot does not like you today. Alright, you are suspicious, but you notice nothing untowards, nothing unusual as you go about your nightly business. This is, however, a night of partying, so if there's anything you would like to do tonight, any parties you want to attend, anybody you'd like to speak to, you have time.
Hmm. I need to think on this. Out of
Okay,
to
so you're just kind of wandering the streets for a while. You got time. The Elysian Fields Bathhouse, as I've stated before, private building owned by Princeps Camillus. While Albina is part of the hunt, Astartes and Labiena are discovering things about each other with Fausia, and Androdamus is engaged in politics. There's another party going on. And now is the time where we introduce Flavia. Flavia, if you would please introduce yourself, describe your character, what are you wearing, anything else you'd like to add.
Well, I should probably point out that one of the most striking things that you would first notice about looking at her is that she is holding a mask in front of her face. She likes to carry it around with her at parties, sometimes because she uses it to perform with, and also she's just kind of used to it by now. Sort of like her favorite toy, except now that she's an adult. I don't know if you could call it that, but imagine if she was a little girl, she'd probably carry around her favorite rag doll or whatever, and so the mask is sort of her constant companion. It is white, um, basically very plain, unadorned mask, porcelain, or whatever you want to call it. So it is fragile, and she's holding onto it very tightly. Other than that, she is a very small, short female. She's about 5 feet tall, about 90 pounds soaking wet, very slim, very graceful. I imagine her build probably adds to that grace, and she has a cloak of striking gold hair that falls down to about her mid back, very lustrous. Um, Again, very striking, just like her mask. Outside of that, she's dressed pretty plainly, um, wearing a dress of turquoise blue and tied underneath her breasts with a simple rope type belt. And I think she would just be pretty much trying to stand around and mingle, but not really engaging
Yeah.
anyone per se.
Well, that's good because
She's very shy.
your sire is right there with you, and being his possessive asshole self. You haven't been to this facility very many times. He hasn't let you go very often. Roman bathhouses have a separate section for females. However, this bathhouse, being owned by a Canaanite, has a few secret passages within it that you can use from your section to get into an area that is only entered by other Canaanites. It's a large building. One section of it is set up to be a exquisite bathhouse, well decorated, lots of frescoes, little tiny stone inlays in the pools, carvings. There are massage chambers, private meeting rooms, a large gathering area for people who to gather when the princeps is going to address people here. He has a private office here. And the other half of the building has a huge gymnasium for performances and gladiator combats and things like that. Feats of strength, wrestling, all kinds of stuff. And another series on this half of the building of private rooms. This is private property of Princeps Camillus, but he has told all Canaanites are welcome to come here if they know the secret of getting in. There is no such thing as a keeper of Elysium. This is not Elysium. Basically, he said, don't commit violence here and don't disrespect me or my property here. That's the rules. So off in the corner with the gymnasium, is a depressed pit about 4 feet deep. It has a sandy bottom. It's probably 30 feet in diameter from wall to wall. As you walk in, there are bleachers in a semicircle set up so that you can see, people can sit in the bleachers and see what's going on. There's a lot of space between the edge of the pit and the bleachers, so you can walk around and get as close as you want to the combat. Your sire he has one arm or one hand on your upper arm as you walk around. The building is crowded. There's easily 100 plus vampires here. Some of them want to be here, and some look like they've been forced to be here. Your sire is walking you around, and he's whispering in your ear as you go. He says, do you see what I protect you from, dear? Look around, look at the humans on the sand, and there's 4 people fighting in the sand. And you notice that it's more like theater combat. They're putting on a good show, kind of like, modern day wrestling. They're hitting each other, but they're not like trying to actually kill each other. They're trying to put on a good show. He says they would treat you just like they treat these humans on the sand. He even directs your attention to a Nosferatu in the crowd. Doesn't seem to have any lips. There's only a few hairs on its head. And he says, he points out the Nosferatu and he says, they might even make you serve such a monstrosity as that. So he's just kind of walking you around the crowd doing that. Give anything you'd like to say? Anybody you'd want to try to engage with?
I think for now she would simply remain silent because under being such close scrutiny from the one person that she has learned to fear more than anyone she's ever known, she just wants a moment to sort of get away from him if she can, but she knows that he's going to be always looking over her shoulder, so she's too afraid to really engage anyone.
Right. So, as he's whispering these things, what passes for sweet nothings for him, I'm going to set your character sheet up for a roll, and you feel another hand grip your other arm. So if your sire has your left arm, you feel a hand grip the bicep on your right arm. And it kind of stops your sire in his tracks. He kind of tugs a little bit, and you turn to look at him. It's a very handsome man. Looks to be in his early 20s, the prime physical age, right as he's reaching his prime physicality. His torso is barely covered by a garment. You see very well muscled torso, curly blonde hair. It's kept kind of short, just falls over his ears. Around his ears, there's decoration of olive tree leaves, and he has curious gold highlights in his eyes, very arresting eyes. So, perception. There's the ability I'm looking for. If I can make my sheet cooperate with me. There we go. Okay, that wasn't what was supposed to happen. I gotta fix that again. Alright, here we go. Empathy. All right, so this guy kind of tugs you, and you turn to look at him real quick, and your sire doesn't notice at first, and he gives you a little tug, and you realize you're not moving. Then he turns to look. All right, so I've set your sheet up for you for another roll. The roll is called Empathy. I would like you to roll that. It is Perception plus Empathy. All you gotta do is click Roll. With 3 successes, which is an outstanding roll, you catch fear in his eyes. He is intimidated instantly by this man. And he says, "Well, well, Marcus Tritus, is this who I think it is? Is this the delectable treat you have been dangling in front of me for these many years? How delightful." And he looks at you. And he doesn't just look at you like an object like your sire does. He actually looks at you. And he gives you, so you have a chance to say something or respond here.
She would likely curtsy very deeply or whatever they did during those times to greet someone whom she would be very captivated by, I think, at first seeing his physical beauty, his perfection. I think, maybe a little bit of that clan Bane acting up at that point because he's just drop dead gorgeous to her. And finally, somebody other than her sire that she can actually feast her eyes on and feel good about it.
As he gets even a little bit closer to you, he smells like olive oil. He has been anointed with it tonight. And a little bit of incense, just a little tiny touch of perfume. And he basically, knowing that he's intimidated your sire, he just says, he kind of looks at you and he says, "Oh, my dear, I am Alexander, a patron of the arts." And then he looks at your sire and he says, "You don't mind, do you? Such an opportunity must not be wasted." And he just pulls you away from him. Just, "Let's go." And just, your sire just kind of like lets you slip out of his grasp like, "Oh no. Oh God, no. I can't believe this guy's taking you away from me." But he's totally frozen, has no idea what to do.
I imagine she is in her own little special heaven right now.
Good. As he
She
walks
would be
away,
very willing to go with this man and very happy that he takes her away from her sire.
he walks away with you, slips an arm around your waist, in a friendly manner. He's not even, it's not like he's trying to seduce you or anything, just being, nice and a little tiny bit protective. But it's also more of a haha, look at I've got her and you don't sort of gesture. And as you walk away, you see somebody intercedes with your sire, like gets right in between you to make sure he can't cause a scene. And he says, "I do so love to meet the new voices of the night scene. They have such a wonderful perspective to tell. Your sire has been proudly speaking of your wit, of your performance, so much so that I've even managed to catch a few of your performances myself from the crowd. I must say I'm quite pleased. What has been your favorite play? Do you have a favorite playwright or a performance?"
Well, she's trying to be humble, but at the same time, she sees this as an opportunity to sing her own praises, though she tells him that in fact it is herself, that she is a accomplished playwright whose plays have yet to be performed, but that's a technicality that she hopes to get over at some point.
Your sire won't even intercede with his superiors, with his elders in the Eternal Senate. He's taken no steps to entice you to build your talent.
No, because he prefers that his own talent outshine anything that she does. Therefore, he keeps her on a very short leash, so to speak.
Yes, it's tis shame that there are those out there who are attracted to the what is superior and rather than learn from it attempt to destroy it or to possess it for their own. So what do you think of what are your plays about? What can you tell me about them?
Well, they are actually simple tales from everyday life. She enjoys just describing simple scenes that focus on family and family interactions and the simple joys and pleasures of everyday life for an everyday Roman. She doesn't think that it would be a very popular subject for plays.
I disagree. What in your mind, what is a defining characteristic of family? What makes a family a family?
Well, they are bound by love, and from that, everything else stems loyalty, trust, respect.
When you say that they're bound by love, he smiles, a huge smile. He's already proud of you for having grasped such an intimate truth. He says, "Oh, you would not believe how many I have talked to that don't understand that there is a force more powerful than that dreamt of by Aristotle and his philosophies. Love is what binds us. It is it is what makes us more than that chair or the table or the sands under our feet. Perhaps you could elaborate. What is love? What is it? What is it?"
Baby, don't hurt me.
Yeah, uh-huh. That's his theme song.
Well, love is possibly the most beautiful emotion in the universe. It is a constant, powerful affection. It is not merely something as simple as and mediocre as sexual desire, but it is more than romance. It is everything. Everything in nature is beautiful, and beauty is love, and love is beauty. And she's starting to mumble now because all of a sudden she realizes that she's never spoken like this to anyone before outside of her family, whom she was very familiar with. But the past years were basically spent in solitude, and now the dogs have been let out, and she has an opportunity to basically speak from the heart. And at the same time, she's just confused, like, why all of out of all the days as a kindred, why is this happening to her? Why now is this man some sort of strange destiny for her? What does this all mean?
Um, he kind of looks at you and a little bit confused. He says, "All acts of nature are love. When the spider encases the caterpillar and eats it, or the fly. Is that an act of love?
She believes so, because it is the act of love of the spider for his own or her own survival. If he did not love himself enough, he would starve to death. So everything really depends on one's point of view.
So it then you believe that you say that love for oneself can be stronger, can be or should be stronger than love for others.
I think there should be a balance, although for a lot of people that is very hard to achieve because either it is too strong for self and they become consummate narcissists, or it goes the other way where they are willing to sacrifice themselves for the ones they love and even lose their own lives in the process. And the trick is to maintain a delicate balance between the two, which is very difficult.
What causes love? I say that is love automatic?
Well, she believes that a type of love can be, if it is the kind of love that is benevolent and loyal and unselfish, the type of love that you feel as a concern in the good of another person. A lot of the times, that kind of love is automatic and not really a choice, but she
Well,
loved her family.
does a
So
does a mother
she
love their
explained.
son, or a father love their child? Is that supposed to be automatic?
She believes so.
Well,
The
then
way she sees it is that it is basically for a mother, she has taken care of carrying the child for 9 months and nurturing it with her own body, protecting it. It the love just grows as the child within her grows, and it is the same for the husband or the father,
well,
while he's not carrying the kid, but he is also very much involved with the nurturing and protecting it while it's in the womb by protecting his wife as an
have you ever
extension.
seen a newborn abandoned on the street? Because I have. What would it not have been an act of love to stop the pregnancy and the birth before it happened? Would that not have been a greater love than to nurture it and bring it into the world only to be abandoned to death?
Well, she can't really answer that without knowing the specific circumstances of what caused the abandonment. But if it was willful, then it was certainly not an act of love. Because it's one thing to abandon it on the streets where it can be eaten by dogs or just trampled underneath a cart, and another to drop it off at a temple where maybe someone will look at and want to take care of it as their own or bring it to a orphanage. There's different ways of dealing with abandoning a child, and leaving it in the street is not love.
So just because something should be automatic doesn't mean it is automatic. A mother may not necessarily love their child. Then,
Or may not love it enough. Maybe she loves herself more.
well, if they don't love it at all, I would assume that it means not loving it enough. Perhaps they love other children more and sacrifice for their survival.
This is true.
He continues to talk like that for several hours, exploring the vagaries of love, the ins and outs, permutations, complications. This appears to be something he has given many, many years of thought to, and read very widely read. He talks about, is there an ideal form of love? Parroting Plato and Plato's saying that there's an ideal form of everything out there somewhere, and it is our responsibility to find it and bring it into this world. And its corollary, is there an ideal form of hate? What's the opposite of love? Is it hate, antipathy? So he speaks a lot about it. Towards the end of the night, he insists. He says he's getting ready to finish off, and he says to you, I have not spent a night quite so enjoyable in many long years. I wonder, would you be willing to spend the day with me and return back here first thing tomorrow, that we may continue our discussion?
She would love nothing more, but expresses the concern that her sire will not likely be very willing to let her come out here by herself.
That's when you notice a bald, you would call him sweaty if he was still mortal, but he can't sweat anymore, fat man, wearing clothing with a few markings that remind you of the human Senate. He's got some markings that say he used to be in the Senate. Speaking to Princeps Camillus. You have never seen this man before, but those of you who have would have recognized him as Androdamus's patron, Valerianus. And you see your sire is trying to get to you. He's literally trying to get to you, and a big guy, very big man, very strong, muscular, the same guy who kind of was running interference for you when you were talking to Alexander, is literally standing in his way. Your sire cannot get him to move. And he is getting upset about it. Alexander just kind of looks and he says, I'll tell you what, let's go inform him that you're going to be spending some time with me, and we'll see if he has the guts to stand up to me. How do you feel about that?
She is more than willing to do just that, and she thinks that he's going to do the talking, because her doing the talking may cause a scene, so she'll let him express it.
Oh, there's going to be a scene. He walks up, and they get to him, and Alexander says, easy, my child, easy. And he says, Marcus, your child has agreed to spend more time with me. In fact, she is going to be spending time with me during the day and come back here tonight, or in the evening. I do so appreciate your foresight in bringing her this evening, that I may meet her. And you see your sire is getting more and more pissed with every word. He starts getting in Alexander's face. You can't do that. It's my child. You can't take her away from me. And Alexander's like, he just smiles again. He says, Flavia, you hunt on your own, do you not? You've been formally taught the education of the traditions?
She shakes her head and then lowers it down because she's very ashamed that she really hasn't hunted alone.
Sorry about that. I just had something caught in my throat real quick. He says, for shame, Marcus. You would subject this creature to more years under your thumb? More time? And you look up, and the first citizen is directly behind him. And he says, He says, Father of the and Alexander bows to him. He says, Father of the fatherland. And I should tell you this, you have enough etiquette to know, Romans and Greeks don't bow. And this guy literally just bowed. He committed an act of ultimate submission to this man's authority. He said, Father of the fatherland, first citizen, you've heard that this man has failed in his duties as sire. I submit to you that I should be allowed to take her against his will for education. And all of the music stops. All of the crowd stop. The silence begins to spread as word. He just accused this man of violating the tradition of accounting. Under the tradition of accounting, it is his responsibility to care for you and teach you that you may learn and not make mistakes.
Yep.
And your sire turns to look, and he starts gaping like a fish. His mouth kind of drops open. And Princeps Titus Ventris Camillus is a man of average height, average looks. He's an older man, looks to be in his early 50s. But those of you who have Auspex 4 or higher have known for years, that's a trick. That's not his real appearance. His real appearance is that of a much younger man in his early 20s. When he was embraced, it was the fashion amongst Romans, and has been the fashion for many years, that the older you are, the more distinguished you are, and the more respected you are. So those of you with Auspex 4 or more kind of learn through the grapevine or by seeing him that he uses Obfuscate 3 to affect this appearance of an old man. It's become something of an in-joke that you're not really a Cainite of Rome until you realize he's been pranking you for hundreds of years. And the Princeps looks at him and he says, "So, what have you to say for yourself?" And he kind of stammers, like he's just caught in the moment, doesn't know what to say, and he goes, "I have heard that you are a fan of the immigrants to this city."
Oh, God.
Those who have rejected my authority and wish harm upon me and mine and those to whom I am responsible. And he starts going, no, it's not like that, sir, it's not like that at all. Let me explain. And then he goes, easy. I would have given you a chance to explain, but by your own lips and the lips of your child. Now not only have you violated the tradition of domain, you violate accounting as well. What else have you violated? And he's like looking to almost like panicking. And Camillus looks at the sandpit and he says, "A trial by ordeal." And he just grabs the guy. The Princeps grabs your sire and just pushes him into the pit.
Thanks.
And he falls on his back, just pow! Totally not expecting this. A puff of sand around him. And the Princeps looks at him. Everybody's completely silent, staring at this, rapt attention. And the Princeps says, "If you can survive, I will listen to your pleas." And you look up, and you notice there's not humans in the pit. There's two large bears. They've got wounds on them already. They're driven into a angry frenzy of pain from being whipped and cut. And as soon as that guy hits the pit, poof, the bears turn from what they were tearing apart, which you see chunks of raw flesh, and they start lumbering towards him. And he's going, "Oh God, no, 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 no!" And he tries to climb out, and somebody steps up and kicks him in the face and kicks him back in. And everybody starts laughing. What's Flavia think about this? What's she do?
Well, her first instinct would be to feel shock at what has just happened because no one has ever surpassed her sire in terms of discipline and power, of course, over her that she knows of. She thought him to be this awesome, badass vampire. She could never pull wool over his eyes, and finally, there's a bigger fish, more than one bigger fish, in fact, and he has been humiliated and accused of what she understands to be crimes in their society. And part of her thinks that it's about time this guy got his comeuppance because there is a hate that she harbors for her sire. And in as much as she would not want to see him die, she's starting to wonder how much better her existence would be if he didn't win the fight. This may be her chance to get free and actually have a future.
Right. Katharina, or sorry, Flavia, as your attention is wrapped upon the sand pit. But Androdimus, if you did eventually make your way to the Elysium, which I didn't know if you were going to do that or not, would you have made your way here? That's the question.
Um,
Since you didn't know if you were going to do it or not, so that's the question. Would you have come here or not?
no. I think I figured out what he was going to do after the whole incident with his patron, and I just posted it there.
Okay, so you don't know what's going on here because her
Yeah,
sire is the other sponsor that they had.
yeah. And I don't know that the patron has almost certainly used his information to rat them out yet, but I have suspicions that something's going on still. So
Right? So, as you guys, everyone there at the pit watches in rapt attention, this guy's like, "No, God, no, 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 Gods protect me! Gods protect me! Jupiter! Mars! Mars, you got I need your help!" And he's like calling out to the gods, "Mars! Venus! Venus, help me!" And he's like backing away. He's got his back to the pit, and he's like trying to sidle out of the way, and the two bears are like boxing him in, sensing weak, easy prey. And they start swiping at him with the claws, and you can tell he's calling on the power of his blood to move faster with celerity, sharpening his senses with auspex, trying to use every advantage he has. But he can only dodge their blows for so long, because every time he dodges, he rolls out of the way, tries to run up to the other side of the pit, and somebody kicks him right in the chest, kicks him right back in. Poof! And he dodges again, and they kick him right back in again. And it's pretty entertaining, because everyone's beginning to laugh at him. So they realize he has no idea how to survive here. He didn't try to attack. He's just trying to get out. And every time he tries to climb out, somebody kicks him right back in. Finally, he comes up and he gets right at your feet, Flavia. He says, Flavia, you have to help me. Give me your hand. Get me out of here. And he reaches up and he tries to grab your hand for you to pull him out. What do you do?
She immediately takes a step back, trying to avoid his grasp.
Alexander beams at you and kicks his foot away. with a kind of a gesture of oh, filthy, dirty, get away from me. And his chilled steps up and punts him right in the face. You can hear his nose break as he falls backwards into the bear, and for the first time, the bear lays into him, boom, right across his back, and this scream of agony, ah, as the claws lay him open to the bone. And he turns and he frenzies on the bear, but it's too late. The bears tear into him, grab his arms, begin to tear huge chunks of him off, even as he fights with vampiric ferocity and frenzy. He can't stand up to two bears, and they tear him apart. Your sire dies right there on the sand in front of you. Alexander puts a comforting arm across your shoulders and pulls you tight. Just watching the scene. What are your thoughts? What do you feel?
She has a brief moment of kind of weird remorse, thinking he was my only family. As far as she's concerned, because she's not looking back to her mortal family anymore. She hasn't thought of them for years. And now she's been saved from a total dick by strangers who seem to mean her well, but she doesn't know them at all either. And she wants to trust them, but she's also feeling the kind of the guilt that you feel after getting someone in trouble, only now they're dead. They can never be brought back, so she's torn between guilt and relief, if that makes sense.
And he says, if it's okay, why don't I take you to my place tonight for the day? I believe that I can teach you far more than your sire ever could, and that my life will be enriched by your presence.
She's very grateful and expresses her gratitude by telling him so, and then asks if it is okay, if it would be permissible for her dog to come and spend the night with her as well, because she had never been separated from him since he became her dog. So they've never spent a day or a night apart, basically.
Of course, we shall send someone with you to gather your things. All right, it's time for a break. Let's take 10. We'll come back at right at the top of the hour.
Hey.
All right, we're back. The full night has passed, or a full day has passed. During the day, you all die, and at night, you reawaken. Mark a blood point off your sheets. Albina, you can heal an aggravated damage over the course of the night or the day.
For 5 blood points, yes?
Yes. Flavia, you started at 1 less than full, so you're now 2 less than full. All right. First thing in the evening, as you guys arise, you find that there is a letter waiting for all of you, except for Androdimus, that your patron Alexander needs to see you at his theater. And you all remember where that is. It's up in the northeastern corner of Rome on the hill. He has a building in which he hollowed out the basement, essentially, to be a big theater. and occasionally has private performances there. So Androdimus, Astartes, as his ally, you have been invited. You are not required to attend. However, Albina and Labiena, as clients, you need to see him.
Having nothing better to do, I will go and see what Alexander wants of me at this moment.
How much time do you have before we have to get to him?
About half an hour.
Not enough to go hunting in that case.
No,
Yes.
not unless you feed off your herd. Which you can do, the group herd.
Yeah. I'm going to trick some of the herd.
Okay. You take a temporary point of herd away from the group cult herd. Use herd 3, I think we have, right?
Yes.
Background. How many people is that?
I believe that's 15.
Yeah, that sounds correct. And how much is herd 2? 6, I think? Something close to that? Yeah, there we go. Herd. 3, 7, 15. So 8. So you can get 16 points of blood without endangering the herd. So you feed on a number. Slowly, gently, and they, of course, are appreciative of the opportunity. They believe it being a communion of type with the gods through their avatars, and submit to the feeding. So you guys head out to the theater, to his haven. You guys go in, head down to the basement. There's the usual assortment of mortal servants, guards, of course the residents of the area, and you are invited. There's a room essentially set aside in the basement that's been basically curtained off. And waiting for you is your patron Alexander, his chilled, and a newcomer, a lady, small in stature, slight, with magnificent blonde hair. And by her side, standing behind her, is a man with a slight paunch and going bald, clean-shaven face. He appears to be of no threat to anybody except for maybe a pen, as he has ink stains on his fingers. And at her side is a large mastiff, a dog, very protectively standing next to her.
She's going to be approached, making herself cutscene before each one of them, starting with the patron. Lord Alexander, you called for us?
Oh, yes, please. There's stools set out, and he's actually lounging on a Greek couch. There's a couple of Greek couches that they're lounging on, and he has stools brought in for everybody else. And he says, "Please sit, take a seat, relax. Nothing untoward's going on here. I would like to introduce the three of you to our newest friend. This is why am I blanking on your name? This is Flavia. Flavia, please introduce yourself."
And so she bows her head in acknowledgement to everyone that has come in. She's never seen any of them before. And she speaks her name. She says, "I am Katharina Flavia." She goes by Flavia and she prefers it. And I I'm very pleased to meet you all. And she withdraws. She's
Right.
very shy still.
Why don't you guys describe your characters for her? We'll start with Stardust. Let's go with the Stardust first.
You will see a boy maybe 15, 16, 17 years of age, piercing green eyes, and dark, dusky skin. He's extremely beautiful to look at, almost unnaturally so.
Um, Flavia, for the first time, you get to roll your self control at difficulty 6. And I'll let you find that on your character sheet and roll it. There it goes. Yeah, Stardust, you notice her, like, almost like her mouth starts to drop open, and she's like, has to pull her eyes away from your face. Like, oh, whoa.
Um, he is dressed in typical Roman garb at the moment, with a smile on his face, and he introduced himself. Hello, my lady. I'm Astartes, Castellan of the Children of Hakim, and I make a slight bow.
Does Katharina know what that means? Does Flavia know what that means?
No, she would not.
Okay. Um, let's do Albana next.
Um, Albina is a woman that has very slim build, very slight, nearly waifish build, looking looking to be a dark beauty, the kind of dark beauty that is the very top of what a human can possibly achieve. Um, she has a very neutral expression held on her face, not betraying her emotions at the moment. And she carefully, her eyes carefully glancing around every once in a while. There being in a darkness to them that seems to be uh, threatening to spill out of them.
Yeah. So Flavia is. You would almost have that same reaction to Albana. She's a very beautiful woman, except that when you get close to her, within about an arm's length, there's an unnatural chill, and in fact, you actually see the glass of wine that somebody came in holding as somebody set it down on the Greek couch next to Alexander, and it's actually beginning to freeze up as Alban is standing next to it. You can see the frost building on it, and it's beginning to freeze, a crust of ice over it. And then when you meet her gaze, it's it's like if you ever dove into a rock quarry, or you just went to this, the community pool, and you were in the ocean and you forgot which way was up, and suddenly you start to panic and you're about to drown. That's what it feels like to look in her eyes, but you're about to drown in darkness, and it is scary. She has to make very little effort to scare the crap out of people. And Labiana, are you on yet?
Yep, I'm here.
All right. If you would describe Labiana, please.
Okay, so probably the first thing that Flavia would notice is the fact that the most prominent thing about Labiana is the cloak. She's basically almost completely covered in a heavy hooded cloak. The color, in these current nights, she'd probably have gone with black because there's probably more of an opportunity to hide more of herself. Anything she would be able to see under the cloak would be like a normal Roman tunic, like one of those. She'd be more than happy with a plebeian tunic and regular plebeian Roman sandals. More Unusually, she'd also notice that Labienne is also wearing a mask. Again, these nights, I think she's favoured a wooden mask, mainly because it's cheaper and easier to get made, manufacture, etc. If she did sort of look a little harder, she might notice in places that's not covered by the robe and the tunic that Labienne's skin would be not completely covering her. Well, initially, if it'd look, it'd be the words. It would have the appearance as if it was starting to very slowly peel away in places. But ultimately, Labienne would have taken the opportunity to sit on one of the stools offered, and we'll look over at Flavia. Good evening, Flavia. It is a pleasure to meet your acquaintance. My name is Labiena Celia, Clan of Death.
All right. Flavia, you got anything to say to any of the other three?
She would basically say that she is grateful to be honored by so fine a company.
I would say there's two things that are very disconcerting about Labiana beyond what she's already said. She just, number one, she just puts out this vibe of creepiness. Just being around her is just kind of like, why is she staring at me? Why is she not staring at me? Why is everything she do but creep me out, man? So she has a flaw called eerie presence.
Yeah, it would legit give you the heebie-jeebies.
Yep. And the second thing is, in the right lighting conditions, she might actually be attractive. If you couldn't see her face and skin, she actually has, underneath the clothing, a very full womanly figure. In life, she was actually not bad looking, but death and undeath has not been kind to her. And that's that you might actually be somewhat sensitive to that. So, Alexander, pretty is chatting with all of you guys. He fills you in on what happened last night. Talks a little bit about Flavia's circumstances and says to you that I am my friends. I ask very little of you in return for my patronage. Protect my reputation, keep me informed, occasionally help with entertainment. I have not burdened you with very much else. I ask this of you as my clients. I am taking Flavia under my wing, and I'm going to have the prince officially recognize that tonight. I wish you to introduce her to the Society of the Night. Protect her, guide her. I will be most upset if you allow true harm to come to her. My child shall be a part of this. I will have him come and teach her how to hunt on her own, how to use the fullness of her gifts, and to teach her the traditions and laws of our kind. I anticipate there are no objections to this, and he looks around expectantly to giving you all a chance to answer.
Do you,
No objections.
give a one of those slight nods she often does. We will do what we can.
Wonderful. You know, it's been a while since we had a chance to talk and speak. Um, since the trial, truly, that of your after your return. So it's been almost a year. What's been going on with your lives? Anything you wish to speak to me about? Any issues, concerns?
Not so much as a concern, but a curiosity perhaps. Are you aware that the paths of the beast in humanity are some of the original ones? The original ones from the others spawned from.
Uh, he smiles. He says, "A wonderful question." So, the Via Humanitas and the Via Bistei are considered to be route roads. They are roads that anyone can find on their own. They are not necessarily roads that anyone can walk, but in the absence of an instructor, many Canaanites find one or the other. My time in Athens, I met many among those who had helped codify the Via Humanitas. And the debates that they had and the arguments with those of the Via Bistei were legendary. I lack the descriptive powers to bring you the full import, the arguments that would rip up and down the Acropolis. To see the Prometheans of the children of Troy, who would rage with passion over their viewpoints and the icy clinical dissections of the children of Erikel against those who would revere Enoia and revere those wayward Canaanites who fled into the Far East with their illusory powers. Such things, they flavored my early nights. They taught me much. Yes, the Via Bistei is a beginner road. But it is one that many feel lacks a certain, how should I say, it lacks a respect or reverence for the true attributes of the higher man.
It's not refined.
It is not.
It is.
They recognize that the higher man, the ideal state of man, is necessary to control and override that of the base feelings and form of the Canaanite. Yet they have little respect for it, just enough to stop being a beast wholly. What has been your impression? Does that match with what you believe, what you have seen?
My time amongst the followers of the beast of the Rose of the Beast has been a pleasant one, if not always a easy one. I believe that it is a path that seeks to. They do not so much reject. They do not reject the man. No, they do not reject the humanity, the self-control, totally. But I feel that in the pursuit of being close to the beast, the pursuit of what would be the most primal way to achieve something, they do miss the nuances and context that would be important to determine the difference between a fight between two equals, a duel, a combat done out of enjoyment and out of desire for prove a point, and the combat to actual death, the combat between two fighters trying to end the other.
I find that their disdain for the higher man is far too well reflected. They eschew civilization not because it serves the beast, but they eschew civilization because they dislike the higher mind. And it is the higher mind that they seek to have only the most minor awareness of it. They wish to have the supremacy that it grants them amongst the wild without acknowledging the debts that arise from it.
Would you say that they seek the easy way? That they seek the way how they can have their higher mind without having the doubts and questions that it brings? They seek the cleverness and the witness, but not the hesitation.
It's not it's not easy what they do. They purposefully walk on the edge of a cliff. They it's like they walk the edge of a cliff with a rope around their waist. And whenever they desire, they leap off the cliff. And the rope catches them and it swings them in a great arc. And they come back up on the cliff. And it takes iron will to be able to throw yourself off like that and trust that you can regain the footing that you willingly tossed away. But they are reluctant. I find that one day, because they trust so much in their ability to come back, one day that rope might snap. And they are afraid of what will happen if they voluntarily let go of the rope. Because if they let go of the rope, they know they can no longer throw themselves off that cliff. They have to walk away from it. They grow addicted to it. It becomes too much. It's too easy to rely on. Where the higher mind would rely on intellect, rely on a plan, rely on your ability to think quickly. Their plan is always and forever strike first, strike fast, strike hard, eliminate threats with no consideration beyond. Kill or be killed. Done. Does this sound familiar to you?
It does. Always give 100%, even when that 100% might leave you worse off than what you were before, worse off than what you were just to hold yourself back.
That willingness and that quick instinct to simply unleash the monster within, it's a powerful tool. Very powerful. But as a wise man once said, when the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. I prefer to have far more tools than a hammer in my toolbox. I don't know about you.
It held a calling to me. Yes, it was pleasant. But no, it's not something that I feel would be that I could dedicate my own life to. She stops for a moment as she thinks back to um, Connie. She wants. Have you been Have you been in the city long, my patron?
Here?
Yes.
Oh, I left Athens just before the Second Punic War. Yes, I arrived in Rome. Oh, it was just before Hannibal crossed the Pyrenees, just before he left Hispania.
I see.
So I came to Rome at one of the most inopportune times available. Fancy enough. I believe you were still working with your
Mistress
Artemis Orthia.
Artemis.
Yes.
Yes.
What did you think of her?
She was an inspiration in every way and form. In a way, she still is. Although,
Looks at Labiana. How about you, Labiana? You've been awfully quiet about her.
Um, Out of character, sorry, I kind of phased out for a second. What were we talking about?
He asked about Artemis Orthia, what Albina thought about her, and then
Ah,
looked at you and was like, "Well, what about you? What do you think of her?"
Labiena ponders for a moment, really considering her thoughts on this. Obviously, she'll respond a lot differently now to when Artemis was still amongst the undead. And she'll say, to be completely honest, I don't really think of her as much as I once used to. I might occasionally have a fleeting thought and be reminded of what life was like, or unlife was like, when she was still among us, and what kind of an influence she had had as our former patron. But those thoughts are beginning to get fewer and fewer these more recent nights.
Well, that's not all bad. Just don't forget the important lessons that she taught. Albina, you were saying that you were still inspired by her.
that is correct. The control that she had over people is what I aspire to have over the abyss itself.
Control over people. She did have uh, quite the following. I will say that. How goes your relationship with her child? I understand for quite a long time you had spent time at the Temple of Diana there as a attendants.
That is correct. We have worked closely to ensure that the legacy of Artemis is kept alive. We have been quite helpful to one another. I believe would be fair to say.
Well, true. She's always been the quiet type. Never liked to be caged down, as she would say. Artemis used her as a messenger, and she grew to appreciate it, to be a wanderer as the gangrel are wanderers, although of far more noble nature, of course.
Quite unlike her own sire in regards to her nature as a wanderer.
Well, I know she had planned to leave after Carthage was crushed. Her death was quite the shock to all of us. Not not beyond the realm of anticipation, but truly, I don't think anybody actually believed she would ever actually die. I think even Mithras himself was taken aback by it.
I like to think it as a final lesson from her, a lesson for always be keeping yourself in mind, keeping aware of death, keeping aware that existence is not a right, but something that you get, that you have, that you gain, but something that you must earn. And at a moment in which you fail to earn it is enough for it to end.
What does Stardust think about that statement? That's a pretty callous statement in light of what just happened to him a couple weeks ago. Might be coughing too hard to answer. Let's hope that's what it is. All right. Well, he just nods. He says, Anybody else have any business? Astardus, Labiena? Anything?
Astartes shakes his head no.
Astardus.
Labian,
Oh,
oh,
sorry.
I
Go
was
ahead,
gonna say,
Labiena. Yeah.
Yeah, Labian will just say, well, my studies are going well. Other than that, nothing really new.
How did you and your clan view the wars? That's not a subject we've talked too much about. I'm curious how you viewed the problem of Carthage.
Um, to be honest, I only have vague recollections of what I thought of Carthage. And the war that was waging on back then. I suppose the only thing I recall is that I felt it back then. It was for the greater good of Rome. To have kindred who were, I suppose for lack of a better word, uncivilized compared to Roman kindred, could have potentially posed a threat to our way of unlife. Other than that, I guess I don't really think much of it anymore. What's done is done.
How about you, Astardus?
We as a clan were ashamed by what my clan members contributed in Carthage. So we took it upon ourselves to reclaim the blood of the Dark Father from those who were wasting it. It had to be cleansed. Nothing else, nothing more.
Flavia, I know you are somewhat young, but you're well educated from our conversations the other night. What thoughts have you on Carthage? Could it have been avoided? Um, did they bring it on themselves, do you think?
She's not really what I would think of as well schooled in history, even contemporary history, because her focus was basically on the arts. But if she had to answer, then based on the limited knowledge of the thing, she'd say that, well, anything can be avoided as long as you take the correct steps to prevent it. So basically, nothing specific there, but she believes that there is no such thing as a single fate or a single destiny for anyone or anything.
Oh, I do believe she would have gotten along well with Nicodemus if he was still here. That very diplomatic answer. Well, I think that about does it. Um, as I've said, my children will be checking in with you frequently. Um, I am going to make sure that your possessions are taken care of, Miss Flavia. We will meet up again frequently, every night if I have my way with it. I wish to understand your hobbies, to probe your mind about the plays, to continue our conversations. I'm looking forward to a fruitful relationship.
Sorry, I wasn't sure if she was supposed to respond to that or not.
Well, that's okay. Just kind of struck like, okay. So he claps his hands and he says, well then, I will leave you to it. Uh, I am on my way. I'm sure you have been here enough. You know how to see yourselves out. Enjoy yourselves. And he gets up and he strides out the door, leaving you guys alone.
I'm not going to be approaching Fabia, looking, examining her over. How long have you been among us, society?
Well, it has only been a few decades.
And from what I understand, your sire has not allowed you to learn much, yes? Has been, you don't even know how to hunt, if memory serves, yes? If what Alexander told us serves, memory of what Alexander told us serves.
He believed that he knew what was best for me at the time, that I had eternity to learn everything there was. And though he used this time as an excuse to draw everything out, and he did the hunting for me. He would bring the meal home, so to speak. I was not allowed to go outside without him being by my side.
Have you ever had the experience of uh, being with other canines? Have you had the experience of having a coterie?
I feel that no, I couldn't say that I have. It has been my sire and I for as long as I could remember. There would be people that would come to the house, but they were mostly associates of his, and I was not really allowed to interact with them much aside from speaking when spoken to. And so I apologize if I seem introverted and shy, and that's basically because that is all I have known to be for many years. And I'm just now starting to remember what it was like before I became a vampire. I was not like this before.
But why are you embrace them? What is the point? To have a child and not use her? To keep her locked up instead of
I
seeing, instead of providing a task to be fulfilled, instead of using her as an extension of yourself.
Well, it's like I said before, he would tell me that there was time for that, and at first I think he just wanted to have a trinket that he could show off and play with and command whenever he felt like doing so. And then, as a toy that he would bore with, he would just tell me to leave and go to my chamber, and that was pretty much my existence. And you may wonder if I maybe tried sneaking out and leaving the his property, and yes, I had, but I was always brought back, often against my will. And so I told myself that I would simply bide my time and wait until a better opportunity presented myself, because it became very clear that he was in no hurry to teach me anything. Perhaps because he felt that as soon as I knew more than he thought I should know, I would find a way to run. And he was right. The first opportunity that came along, I took it. And now I'm here with you all.
Have you killed?
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Have you killed?
I have not killed.
Then truly we are dealing with an as if it was essentially newly embraced neonate fledgling.
Is killing something that I should be doing?
Child, when you find out that by the time you are 1 century old, if you are not killing at least 2 people per day, then you are likely not keeping yourself well fed.
I was allowed to drink from multiple vessels, but I was Never allowed to drain them of their last drop.
Had you had the opportunity to meet with the rulers of our city? With the Senate?
No, I have not. I have led a very sheltered life, and I'm looking forward to change that. First and foremost, because of what I wish to do with the rest of my life. And I want to be a famous playwright. I wish to be an actress. I wish to embrace the world as my stage. That would never be possible if my sire was still around.
Abner looks over the rest of the coterie, looks over to Labienne and Astartes. How about we proceed to take her to a meeting with some of us? With she looks over to Labienne. Fazeda,
Fauzia.
Faugia, yes. A meeting with
Faugia.
Faugia, and then she looks over to Astartes. A meeting with some of your clanmates, and finally, a meeting with my sire. And the sheriff and the other people that she worked with as a scourge.
Do you think that is a a good idea? Out of character. Novel probably wasn't the best word to use, but she'd be like, that is certainly a good idea. I am curious, however, and at this she'll turn to Flavia. Did your sire happen to tell you anything of the other clans besides your own?
He told me that they exist, but he did not elaborate on specifics. Some of them he felt were beneath him, and he warned me to keep away from them. One of the clans that he did not name by name, he described as being twisted, ugly, horrible creatures of the night that spend their time lurking in the sewers and catacombs, and he called them rats. And I felt the dismay with which he felt for this clan, and the more he spoke of derision about them, the more I felt like I would actually wish to know them. I really can't explain it. I don't know why, what would motivate me, but it seems that everything he disliked and mistrusted and hated and felt was wrong for me, I wanted to know, and I still want to know.
Then perhaps you are going to enjoy knowing that I have been tasked with assisting a member of that clan, the Nosferatu, into guiding him on the basics of my path. It is likely that he is going to be quite present within the next few nights.
A word of warning: when dealing with the Nosferatu, their information is never cheap, it's never free, so keep that in mind.
And their clan is one that is very much together. If you deal with one of them, you can assume that others are going to take notice of it, and they might seek to get themselves involved in your dealing.
indeed. I suppose all I'll say about what the Nosferatu, or as your sire called them, sewer rats. They are, I will say, an interesting clan to meet. But I suppose, as my other fellow coterie members have just stated, they are indeed to be taken carefully. So, in a sense, almost as if to keep them at arm's length. However, they can be quite useful.
I am wondering, she says, looking at Labiena, if it is permitted to ask about your clan, lady. Your appearance is very singular, and I would love to know more if you permit such knowledge.
If I ask, I will tell you what I can.
What are you called, and what is it that distinguishes you from the other clans?
Well, our clan title is actually Cappadocian, the name of which is derived from... Actually, out of character, I'm not sure if... Well, I'm fairly certain Labiena would know this about the origin of the name Cappadocian.
It's derived from the where they believe Ashur usually stays out in the region of Cappadocia.
In Mesopotamia.
Actually, in Turkey.
Anatolia. Yes, Anatolia.
Yeah. In Turkey. I was actually looking it up earlier, which is why I actually know that.
Yep.
But yeah. So Cappadocian, based on the area of Cappadocia in Turkey. And you could say what distinguishes us from the rest of the other clans is, I'd say, much like the Nosferatu, is more often than not a very obvious one, which is why I wear these clothes. And she kind of, well, not lifts up, but kind of moves around the cloak to indicate that, is, even though you can't see it right now, underneath this, my appearance is almost reminiscent of what you would consider a dead corpse, if you will. Our kindred curse is not a kind one.
So then you always resemble death. Is that more or less it? Okay.
Literally. If you wish to see, I can take off my mask, if you'd like. If not, I'll keep it on.
With all due respect, my lady, I think that perhaps you should keep it on, as I cannot guarantee that my reaction will be that of a lady, and I do not wish to insult you. I can have a pretty weak stomach. Well, I did as a mortal, but now my reactions basically end up with gross twisting of my face and sometimes backing off into a corner. I try not to portray myself as a coward, but it is an instinct that will have to wane with time. Hopefully, you will not all see me as being a coward by the way I was as a mortal or vampire. It's an instinct that was basically developed over a period of time I spent with my sire. I will be working to make that go away with your help.
And I start laughing very hard, and I say,
Mhm.
I doubt that will face Laviana.
At that, Labiena, just despite her usual expressionless look, everyone might be able to catch a glimpse of a very, very faint um, grin, sort of curling up the sides of her lips as she responds, "The longer you spend with me, my dear, the more you will find that very, very little these days offends me."
I appreciate that, my lady, and thank you for sharing with me the knowledge of your clan. Um, Looking over at Albina, he remembers the frigid air that she felt when she became in closer proximity with the vampire, and she almost hesitates at first, but then she just blurts it out and says, "Could I touch you? Your skin?"
Agnes raises an eyebrow, curiosity breaking the neutral look on her face as she is not expecting such a question. Why?
She explains that feeling she had when first coming in contact with Albina, and she would like to tell whether her skin feels colder than the frigid air she felt when it was in the proximity of the vampire.
Open extends her arm for Flavia.
And she likewise gently reaches out and just touches her her longest three fingers to Albina's forearm. And what would she be feeling from that touch? How cold is it?
It's cold as ice. It's cold as if she was essentially as if you were touching an ice sculpture. It is only only the fact that you know that the being in front of you is not it's not a, it's not made of ice that keeps your she's colder than a corpse. It's like she's draining the heat around her.
She removes her fingers almost immediately after sensing all of that and takes a step back and reflexively just buries her hand in the fur of her dog as if to rub that cold sensation off of her fingers. And of course, it's a comfort to have the mastiff there and just looks up to her, doesn't
It should be
really.
stated your mastiff does not like anybody else in this room.
Oh,
It is
okay.
it's not aggressive because you're there and controlling it, but you are very much under the impression that if anybody else had tried to approach it, it would bite hard.
Um, I had a name for him actually, and I was asking Albina to give it to me, translate it into his native language. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Um, it means loyal. Could you pronounce it?
Leal.
Leal. Okay. See, I have to remember that. But so then she would introduce her companion, her furry companion, to everyone and say, "This is Leal, and he has been with me almost for as long as I can remember being a vampire. He's usually friendly, as in, if you try not to hurt him, he will try not to hurt you back."
You killed him?
Yes. Yes, I have. My sire gave me some schooling in how to go about it. He did not want me to be alone in the dwelling while he would be out, and in addition to having the place guarded, I didn't really have anyone to interact with, so he allowed me to have this dog. Is the only kindness of his that I remember.
Well, Labiana will just briefly look at the animal, not sort of stepping any closer for obvious reasons, and then say, "Well, you'll forgive me if I choose not to get to know your animal."
Of course. I just felt it was wise that everyone knew most of the time he stays with me and accompanies me everywhere, and I did not want you to question why this animal was here or feel uncomfortable. If you do feel uncomfortable in his presence, please let me know, and I will try to make some arrangement to have him around when perhaps you are not, or have him keep his distance. He learns very quickly. But I would very much like to keep him and still remain with you.
Of course, we're not opposed to his presence, but
You guys do, in fact, have one of your own at the group haven, so
Although he might be opposed to our presence.
yeah. Although technically it's Hatchet's,
yeah.
but yeah.
There are gentlemen um, in the group that she has not addressed yet, and she won't, simply for the reason that she's always been told to wait to speak until she's spoken to. Her sire was very strict when it came to communicating with male vampires. For whatever reason, that was a quirk, and also he was, pardon my French, a dick. So she just looks between one and the other and waits to see, hopeful that
Uh,
maybe they'll say something.
to be clear, in case it wasn't, Androtimus isn't among the group, but right now,
Oh, pardon me, I didn't realize for
yeah,
whatever reason.
he he's a sort of weird place of like he's basically like a semi-permeable membrane to the group.
Okay.
That's kind of the problem of having people reporting to different people.
Yeah.
I must have zoned out when that was being said, but in that case, that would still leave one person, right?
Yeah, Stardust is essentially the only male vampire in the room right now.
Okay, so she'd be boring a hole in his face with her stare, I guess.
I smile at her down and ask her, "Is there anything you want to ask of me?"
She just sort of a little mesmerized, I guess maybe because of the way that he was being described previously. And she just lets it slip out of her mouth, kind of a mutter, a murmur, whatever, if you will, that he is very beautiful. So she says, "You are very beautiful. What are you?" And by what are you, she means she wants to know about his clan, his people, if you will.
I'm a child of Hakim since time immemorial, since the second city. We were the judges of our kind. And in this city, you can say I'm the head judge of my clan. I'm the leader of this clan in the city. We are warriors and judges and scholars. I myself, by training, am a scholar, but sometimes I am more than that. Is there anything else you want to know?
I appreciate the introduction. I find your appearance to be very striking, very unique. And just taking in the appearance of his skin and hair, and just kind of lets it linger, and then looks at everyone and says, "I know what you all expected, and I feel like I might be more of a hindrance right now than an asset, but I would respectfully ask to learn from each of you the best and the most that you have to offer, whatever you will to spare of your knowledge and experience. I would like to follow. I would like to learn how to be a true kindred. And I know there is no people of my clan among you, but I am sure that with the our glorious patron who has single-handedly saved me from a future with my sire, I could perhaps learn from him as well. I'm sure that he possesses vast knowledge on the subject. I am in your debt for allowing me to become one of you." And so she just nods her head and smiles. Rare seen smile. She's relieved at this meeting having gone well and not felt like an utter, pardon the phrase, retard for not behaving inappropriately or just leaving a bad impression on everyone, or she hopes she hasn't left any bad impressions. But there it is.
I look at her straight in the eyes and tell her, "I can see that you're still new, but take this as a first lesson. Do not trust anyone blindly. We're all vampires. We're all here to get something out of everyone, so do not trust anyone blindly. When you do that, it will cost you, and sometimes it's going to cost you dearly."
She looks back and smiles, saying, "I said I was grateful to you. I did not say I trust you." And she winks at him.
Touche. And I smile back. And I look at Labiana. So, when are we going to see your mentor? All giddy, all happy.
Well, what was previously said, Labiena would give another slight nod. Wise words when, more wise words were never spoken, and turns to Astartes. Well, as a matter of fact, I do intend on visiting her again soon. I'm always eager to learn more, as you now know. So if you like, I can come and find you when I plan to go and see her next.
That would be appreciated.
Well, all right then. Androdimus, back to you for a moment. You have
Are all my new friends dead?
talked. No, because it's just the fourth night of the celebration. They haven't even. Nobody's had a chance to act on information yet. So,
I know. It's just.
what are your plans for tonight? Anything special or in particular?
How did they react when I tried to get the info out to them that something fishy might be going on?
Well, let's do this. So you show up, and you are talking to Trocus and a couple of others that are there. It is late. It is 2 o'clock in the morning, and you find them at their gathering place.
Androsmith will walk in with a look of not panic, but definitely noticeable concern on his expression, and just say, I spoke to my sire. He didn't make any. He didn't. Not sire, sorry, out of character. That was a mess.
Patron,
My
yeah.
patron, yeah. I spoke to my patron. He didn't make any obvious signs of one way or the other, but something about the way he. Something about the way I interacted with him made me feel suspicious. And I fear that if he is planning anything, some of your meeting spots may be compromised.
All right. He is peering intently at you. And he gets nothing. And he starts talking to you. He's just like, "What did you tell him? What's going on?"
I will basically relay the interaction in full, and um, basically end it with, I made sure to leave at least one location unknown to him. We may want to move any future gatherings there.
He starts to panic. He's like, "You fool! You idiot!" And he like makes a couple of snaps and signals, and a couple people go out looking. And he's like, "Come on, come with me. We gotta go. We gotta go."
Yep. Yep. And Jonas gives an expression that he definitely realizes that he's fucked up.
So yeah, they grab you, they duck out of there, take you out of a back exit into all the tents and rickety, ramshackle buildings and such that are all packed together. You're out in the Trastevere, which is across the Tiber, in the slums area. Roll perception plus alertness.
Oh god.
He's good at this.
Is willpower an option right now?
It is an option because you are scared out of your mind.
Fuck.
You could have used this roll earlier.
Yes, I could have.
As he ducks you out, and you get out to a couple of the tents, and you peek out from between the wall of canvas and burlap. You catch a glimpse of two of people, a man and a woman that you recognize as trusted servants of your patron Valorinius. And it comes to you in a flash. They've been following you for weeks.
Fuck. Would they have followed him to the one location that he hadn't
Yep,
mentioned?
they've been following you everywhere. And now roll your perception plus your wits plus alertness plus 3 extra dice.
What the fuck?
God damn. Well, my lord. So,
I was saving all my luck up, it seems like.
yes, you were. Suddenly, you realize there are gaps in your memory. Troubling similarities as you are running through the tents and through the narrow streets, the mud, clattering over crap and discarded scraps of wood and like clothing and jumping over bodies, everybody running away. You realize he's been dominating you for a couple of weeks too. He's been erasing your memories.
Shit. And as the realization hits, like, he manages to not slow down from the shock, but his eyes go even wider if that's possible, and he just says, "That bastard! He's been using his disciplines to extract the information out of me and wipe the memories."
Yep.
Shh.
He's been using you as a spy, even though you didn't know it.
I still not pausing. I just say, "Well, given what a mess I've made, I suppose I owe your entire group many services, assuming we're still alive by the end of
Well,
this."
need you to roll your perception plus alertness as you turn the corner and you come to a small plaza clearing. And I suppose I should probably fix the music.
2 successes.
Music. Going to the music channel. All right. You skid to a stop before you get exposed. Your companion does as well. 2 or 3 others are not so lucky. They go skidding into the wet, slippery streets. And you see a man with a strong, square face, square haircut, kind of lopped up to the sides, slicked back a little bit, whitish hair, big, powerful build, Greek eyes. The other coterie would recognize him as Democritus, a Ventru. And there's a couple people with him, and he and now you become aware that there's sounds of violence, more so than usual. You hear, "Stop! Stop! Halt! Stay! Stay where you are! Don't make us chase you!" And as these 2 or 3 of them slide in, nets come flying out and drape over top of them, and they start struggling trying to get out, and they're caught. And a couple of ghouls descend and start beating them down. "Get down! Get down!" Like trying to, and they can't fight back because they're entangled up in nets. And they look, and Democritus makes eye contact with you, and he just smiles. He's coming for you.
I'm going to look to the one that's with me. I'm going to say, my horse is Do you have animalism?
He shakes his head no.
Shit, that won't work then. Okay, just try to stay back. I'll try to hold them off.
Right? So you're attacking?
I'm not directly, but I'm basically getting my blade at the ready, and basically at the first sign that someone's going to attack me, I
Yep.
will strike back.
They're ignoring you. They go running past you. As Trocus takes off, he turns and takes off. A couple more of the pursuers break off and go running after him, and they just blow right past you. Don't even do anything to you.
Fuck.
You can strike them for free. You have the opportunity to smash them as they're going past you, but they're not going for you.
I'm going to try and trip one of them.
All right? Give me a Dex Brawl, Diff 7. They're rolling Dex Athletics, and yes, you can spend a willpower for this. They're rolling Dex Athletics. The first one just leaps over your foot and keeps on going. A second guy comes running past you. Actually, I take it back. First guy trips and stumbles, doesn't quite go down, but he definitely loses sight of Trocus. Second guy sees it, just kind of does a slick little move where he just kind of moves his torso a little bit and high steps for a second, and he blows past both of you, going after Trocus. So you did slow one of them down. And Democritus is walking up to you.
The people who got netted, how close are they, and are the others still around them?
The others are still around them, and they are within attacking range for you. You can run up and attack and try to free them.
Yep. Without moving a beat, I just dash over, trying to ignore Democritus and definitely not get caught in the eyes. Go straight to the net, and try my best to get them free, hopefully without having to actually hurt any of the ghouls.
Right. So give me a quick Dex melee roll at the difficulty 8 to slide your blade in, not hit either person, so you're not hitting either guy. You're just catching the net, twisting the handle up, and then yanking it to try to slice open the ropes.
What difficulty will this be?
It's going to be difficulty 8.
Would my Daredevil merit apply to this?
You know what? I'm gonna let this work, because this is, unbelievably reckless. Because you are literally putting yourself in the way of catching a shitload of blows right here.
Yep. And due to merit, that one at the end is negated, so that's a total of 4 successes.
You make it look easy. In fact, you make it look cool. As you just go dashing up, no! And you just twist it aside, avoid a blow, slide their blade in to one opening in the net, out a second opening in the net, twist it up, yank it, the sharp edge that you've spent so much time honing to that razor sharp edge, slices through the hempen ropes, and the guy kind of just his hand follows the path of your blade and he shoves the net off of him, and he prepares to try to start running away. In the meantime, Democritus puts his hand on your shoulder and twists you around to look at his face. Physically pulls you to look at in his eyes. Stop resisting. Dominate. What's your current willpower?
Current willpower is 2, sadly. One thing I do need to check if it might apply. God damn it. V20. Ah, shit. The roll is made by him, isn't it?
Yep.
So I don't get the bonus.
You're going to get a +1 because he has to pull you to look at him. So you're actively trying to avoid his gaze.
So he's got TIF 3.
Yeah. I don't remember if he has an actual character sheet or not. I have to look. Let's see. There is his sheet. For those of you who forget what he looks like, as soon as it pops up, he looks like that. Alright. Oh, he does have a character sheet. How about that? Oh, bad news is he's got 10 dice to roll. I was actually going to give him fewer dice than that. Yeah, with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 successes, all will to fight drains out of your body.
Androsmos freezes. He sort of, his posture relaxes as he can't bring himself to fight back, but noticeably, he looks angry. Probably angrier than most people would look even in a frenzy.
And he has every right to be angry. Every right. He just keeps his hand on you. You did well, son. You did very well. We congratulate you.
Evidently not well enough, but what's done is done, it seems.
Come. We have much to discuss. You are to be congratulated, feasted, and returned to your patron. Now, he said stop resisting, and you stopped. And you can't resist him about helping your new friends. You are very much free to tell him to go fuck himself and walk away. The question is, do you have the power, the willpower to do that?
I'm going to just sort of close my eyes, breathe. No. I need to reflect, to think. Don't give me your praise.
He just laughs. Oh, son. It's not my praise you need to be concerned about. It's Princeps Titus Ventris Camillus who will be congratulating you.
Be that as it may, and Androsmos starts walking away unless he's physically stopped.
Nope. He has other ways to bring you back. As you are in time to see the bodies being dragged in the nets. The guy whose net you cut tried to get away, and a couple people leaped and jumped at his legs and tripped him up. So they're still struggling with him, but he's having trouble getting away. He could have used your help, but obviously you've been dominated. You can't.
I presume that applies to both physically and other ways.
Yes. You can walk away, but you can't help.
Yeah. As I do, I just...
And probably what strikes you the most is they're still conscious as they're being dragged away, and they look and they meet you right in the eye, and the look of betrayal on their face.
Androtimus, as far as he goes, has a look of utter shame.
I need you to make a conscience or conviction roll. Gain +2 dice because you did not do that willingly, so your code of honor is helping you here. Difficulty 6.
Let me check this. Oh, shit.
Excellent. Well, I believe you lose. You're on Road of Kings, right? I think.
No, actually.
Humanity?
Yeah.
All right, well, you get to lose a point of humanity or a point of conscience, your choice.
Humanity.
Good choice. This struck so deeply at your code of honor and the fact that they see you and you perceive yourself as being so naive at trusting that your patron, who is a fucking rat bastard, by the way, and who has very much always been in it only and wholly for himself, you should have known better.
Here's the thought. First of all, as I pass, I just look to them. Probably at this point with a bit of actually blood in his eye, almost as a tear, just says, "I can never express how sorry I am." As he walks past, and I want to think. With everything that he did, was all of it completely legal by the vampiric laws? Everything his patron did.
Everything his patron did? Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. There's nothing that says you can't dominate somebody and erase their memories, except for unless you've done it under a code of, like, safe conduct. And these people, they're not recognized. They're not, they're not acknowledged under the princeps, under his domain, under his hospitality.
Oh well. So yeah, he's going to just slink off, utterly dejected.
Okay. So Andronicus, now the next night for you. So you have woken up, still stewing in anger and shame at the events of the night before, wondering what could you have done differently. What should you do in the future? What do you do now?
First things first. Androtimus takes one of the bits of paper he keeps around, usually for messages. Gets a pen and writes a letter for his patron to be delivered, that he's going to deliver at some point. Politely but firmly taking his leave of his services.
Wits plus expression. Or etiquette. Your choice.
He'll be etiquette. Regular diff?
Yes, please.
What the hell? It resets weight. Well, it would have been 2 successes if the sheet hadn't weirded out on me.
That's fine. Alright, well, the language is not colorful. That's the realm of expression. In very plain but exactingly correct language, you express that the time has come to end your partnership and that you will henceforth be moving onwards to seek other engagement. And you wrap it up, stick a bit of wax on it to seal it up, and go where? Do what?
That still needs to be decided. I assume that there's no messages have come for him.
No, there have not.
On the one hand, he would like nothing more at this point than to leave this place, but on the other hand, even with his patron out of the picture, he still has another duty he needs to attend to here. He's going to try and drop by the coterie's haven.
I think that's a wonderful idea. As you arrive there, just as they have left Alexander's place and are arriving back, so you all meet up together at right about the same time.
And so yeah, Androgynous will come across you all. For those who have met him before, he looks more miserable than he ever has in your presence. You know, every other like trial that might beset him, that upsetted him. His current expression outmatches what he had for all of that. For the new person, Androtimos is a rather attractive looking, looks like a young man. Bit of that sort of, charming rogue appearance to him, if you get what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
He carries himself with a fairly usually with a fairly easygoing attitude, though not necessarily in this case. He just looks to everyone. Is that a new one among you?
Alexander has tasked us to presenting his surrogate child to the rest of the court, to the rest of our society.
Indeed. Speaking of which, yesterday, did any of you go to Elysium? Or the bathhouses?
No, but if you are talking
Wait,
about,
no.
oh, sorry.
Flavia has. So Flavia, you can speak up here.
He tells him that she has been there recently.
Did anything happen involving my patron? Motherfucker, I forget his name.
Valoranius.
Valorant. Yeah. Did anything happen involving Valoranius last night, or was any reference made to the rebels?
I believe she wouldn't know anything about it, correct? She doesn't know who Valoranius is.
She can roll intelligence plus politics. Valoranius, he's decently famous. He's got a lot of pull in the gladiator scene and the chariot racing scene. So, you may have heard of him. You may have met him once or twice. But if you describe him, Androdimus, that might help.
Yeah, Androdimus will seeing that she's struggling with it. Just give a sort of like few descriptors.
Okay. Yes, you explicitly remember seeing him there.
Okay. Did you don't want me to roll for that anymore then?
You don't know because he described him. So, and you explicitly remember that guy talking to the princeps right before your sire got ganked by a bear.
Yeah, so maybe I do recall the man that you described, but I can tell you very, very little because I do not think I was paying attention to what was being said. I was too preoccupied with what was happening with meeting this new patron and basically too overwhelmed to think about much else. I'm sorry.
It's fine.
Androdimus, roll intelligence plus politics, difficulty 7. Her face, the more you stare at it, the more it reminds you of Trokos talking about the child of his ally. It's just, especially the hair, that long golden mane that is so distinctive, just really stands out. That just, the more you stare at it, the more it tugs at your memory. It's like, it couldn't be. Could it? Really?
As a flash of recognition crosses Androdimus's face, he actually pauses. He's taken aback, and actually gives a bitter laugh. You are the child of Marcus, aren't you?
Yes, I am, or was. I think he's no more.
Of course he isn't. And I bear a role in that, it seems. I came here to make one singular request of you all. I am willing, if necessary, to offer repayment for it. I have little doubt in my mind that events will be taking place at the bathhouse tonight. Unless I am forced, I would very much rather not go. But I would still like to hear of what happens.
Androtimus, what happened to you tonight?
Not tonight, last night. Well, it appears that, suffice to say, the migrant group is almost certainly broken.
Then we can rest easy then.
Perhaps you all can.
Do you have a place to spend the night? Or the day?
Oh, they're spending the night wherever the sheriff and scourger feel suited for them. I right now would like nothing more than to leave this accursed city, but it seems that. But for now, I can't, so. But I have my own place. Don't worry about that.
I know the feeling. And my face turns sad.
Why do you care so much for them?
Even if I didn't, just to render this more in terms that might, at the very least, be understandable to all of you. What happened occurred in a way that I betrayed a vow I made.
Did you willingly betray this vow?
No, but in the end the result is the same. One last thing. You probably don't need me to tell you this, but perhaps take extra special care than you usually had not to trust my, in this case, soon-to-be former patron. I need some time to think. I would appreciate if any of you attended and took note of what occurs at the bathhouses tonight, and I will repay services owed, but
Of course. And feel free to drop in and see us whenever you would like.
thank you, I suppose. Good evening. And with that, Artemis moves to his next destination, to which he quite simply gets a letter delivered, the notice delivered to his patron's door, doesn't bother knocking, doesn't bother, like, making sure he gets it in person, just sort of, like...
You shove it through the mail slot. Gotcha.
Yep. And then leaves to go and then goes about feeding for the night.
Okay, I think that's a good place to stop. Um, everybody gets an experience point for tonight. Next game will be in 2 weeks, and that puts it on the 18th, I think. Come on, calendar, pop up, please. Any second now. Yeah, should be the 18th. Yep, and then January 1st. So yeah, unless you guys have a whole bunch of New Year's Day plans that you're going to be up and about that night. So
No, no, I'm going to be free to explore the emotional fallout for Androtimos.
um, yeah, that's pretty much all I got.
Yeah,
So
I think for me that'll actually be perfect, probably, because I'll still be up. Because it's only going to start 3 hours after New Year's Eve, and I don't plan on going anywhere, so.
yep, yeah, we're not going nowhere. We're boring. All right, guys. Unless you got anything else for me, say you guys thank you, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Right. Good night.
Good night.
Thanks, all. Good night.
See you. Have
See ya.
a good one.
Good night.
Okay, well, I want to thank everybody for listening all the way, if you did. So, what a little bit of a twist there. Yes, Ventru are fucking dicks. They will use every trick in the book. And I hope you guys enjoyed that plot twist just as much as I did. So, once again, everybody, thank you for listening. Have a great evening.